This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, this is your instructor, Peter Olson, taking a look at your package designs for the midweek critique. First up, we got Xavier. Xavier, you're doing Shaman Tea. I think that this has a lot of good elements. You need to finesse a few things that would make it a lot better. The pattern on the front primary display panel is too high contrast. And one thing you could do right away that would fix that is take off all these black strokes. If you lose the black strokes, this will become more like a texture and it'll sit in the back and let your logo kind of shine through, so to speak. You should probably have some sort of descriptor line explaining what Shaman Tea is, like what's special about it. I don't mind this as a design element on the sides, but it kind of doesn't really fit with your brand. It seems very sort of, loud in your face, and this is like more subtle kind of brand. So I would reconsider that. I think that it's the color choices, the high contrast color choices that make it difficult. Plus you have this sort of nice mottled texture here that seems more in line with the brand. This just comes out of left field, this very geometric high contrast pattern. So take the strokes off of that and see how that looks, and that might work for your front, and then add a descriptor line and you'll be in good shape. All right, yeah, Pamela said so as well. All right, Pamela, you've got Café de Provence. You've got the elements working. Coffee beans are not beautiful. It's not a great image for the coffee. If you think about sort of the romance of this, is there a photo, a scene, something that you could do to sort of spark people's imaginations about how to use this product or what it's like? Your color palette, you're using pretty limited amount of colors, which is okay. I just think if you had a great image here to sort of spark people's imagination, it might work better. The logo type being black feels kind of jumps out as stark. I would consider maybe using a color, maybe this dark green as your logo type color. The other opportunity is to make the handle some different color or pattern at the top so it stands out from the rest of it. The door as a secondary element is, I mean, you've already used it as your logo. The fleur-de-lis look like a sort of different visual style, but you really you kind of need some sort of secondary element like a texture or pattern that's going to work with your logo and everything else. So maybe a little more work there and you'll have something good. Next up, Matthew, mint soap. I've given you some comments on mint soap. Your logo isn't really a lockup. Your color palette's very analogous. It's okay. I would wish there was a pop. The pop you're using is black. I would use something other than black. What could you use to sort of bring a little more attention to this? The design is neat and well organized. It's kind of minimally branded. You got a little wave here. Perhaps more finesse on the bubbles. You could do more with the handle. See how the top, you could do something with these inside panels or maybe with the handle to give it a little more branding, a little more decoration. You could do something with this side panel. So consider that. This is a different design, I guess. Next up, Marquest, you've got your atomic cookies. I mentioned this in your identity package too. I wouldn't use black. Black sort of just kills everything and it's, dominates. Use a dark violet or, some color that gives a little more life to this. I know you're trying to replicate space, but if you look at images of space, there's a lot of color in some of them. The elements are kind of stacked in a sort of, there isn't a good hierarchy. So your logo should be the hero. This box calls this out way too much. I would take that box off, just use a little type there. And then sort of integrate the image of the cookies with the logo. So there isn't like one thing, another thing, and another thing. It's like you want to have a more fluid layout on the front. So consider that. You can also rotate these stars a little bit so they're parallel with the sides a little more, so they're not, because they all look like they're going at an angle there. But it's looking pretty good, so you just have some finessing to do to get that right. All right, Roy, we talked yesterday. The good progress. I still think you have some hierarchy issues here. So first of all, a little more contrast between the logo elements and the background would be good. This plate, if you just look at this plate jumps out as a dominant element because it's so dark and strong, and it's not really important. So I would get rid of it. I guess this is a picture of the cookies. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, I guess they're the cookies. So these kind of look like, you know, survival snacks or something. This is supposed to be a very indulgent, rich cookie. See if you can find a better cookie picture and use that instead of this purple plate with the these kind of unappetizing bars. And so a good cookie picture and your logo, and then everything else could be organized and a little smaller. This Mardi Gras line could be sort of a violator, put it at an angle or something. You just have to figure out how to get everything relating to each other. And if you could see this pattern, this kind of interesting, gets covered up completely, maybe flip it and put it on these panels instead. It could be a little smaller too. All right, so that's it for section 1. Section 2, we've got Kelly. You're doing Boise beef jerky. Your color palette is pretty minimal right now. You've got gray and light blue. I think this dark blue is your assigned color. So consider bringing other players to the party to bring the color out a little more. Your logo, so you've put this box behind your logo so that it will read on this background. It's just an additional element that's not really helping you. Your logo could be bigger, and pick a color for the background that lets your logo stand out. It should be that other way around. You've got all the right elements sort of working here. Did you assemble it? No. And I like this pattern with the longhorn steer, but I'm not a fan of the gray. The gray feels like a default color, not really a choice. This outer glow on the beef jerky is not, I don't think that's a real good strategy. It sort of feels like fungus or something. I would maybe do a shadow instead. Nice looking steer though. So if you could create a pattern, so if you think about this brand, it's a lot about cowboys in the West and all that. You have textures, you have sand, wood, leather, all these things that you could bring into play that would give it more of the branded feel for this brand. So consider that. And next up, Patton. You're doing Osiris Egyptian coffee. So you really haven't established a sort of branded look for this. Right now you've got a gray, a cool gray and a violet color, and that's it. You need to have a full 5-color palette and be able to make use of them. Think about textures and patterns that you could use. Your logo, frankly, is quite weak, and it's probably going to be a problem for you. But the word Osiris should be big and in an interesting font, much bigger than the icon. The word coffee could be smaller. Your font choices seem kind of off-brand too. So think more about the 10 keywords for this brand and what looks like that. You don't necessarily have to have nutritional facts for coffee, but this should have a white background and a little bit of a margin. So I think you still have a lot of work to do, but mainly think about how could you use 5 colors to really create a branded look for this. All right, Stephanie, Salty Dog Caramels. So you've created this interesting sort of wave pattern, which is a nice element. I think that you're using it way too large. You should shrink that down so that it's more of a texture feel. This sort of pencil drawing of the dogs, the color of that feels a little off. So your caramels kind of look a little washed out, but if it's like a rich brown color, what could you use to sort of enhance that? I love your little dog. I'm not great about the logo setup, but could the dog be a color? Should the dog be white with a black eye? Should the black outline maybe be a color, a dark brown, a dark caramel brown? The black feels just like a default color. I would figure something else out and see what you come up with. You're using some interesting textures here. Those are good. Just sort of need to pull it together a little more. You can't put the ingredients on the bottom. You got to put them on the back over here. And yeah, I kind of like this one the best because of the textures, but as far as color, just look at the overall color, look at your 5 colors and figure out how do I make that all kind of work together. And I definitely think your logo could have a fill color for the dog and then a different color for the stroke. And next up, Dante, you got Big Red's Texas Chili. Just a note on your logo, it's kind of inverted. It really should be Big Red and Texas Chili small, because that's the brand versus the category. You're using your red color and this kind of parchment paper, that kind of works well. The green is very bright, and when you put a bright green with a bright red, all you can think of is Christmas. Maybe the Mexican flag, but this isn't coming across as that. Everywhere you have strokes in here, I would consider taking them off. See how that works. I think your setup is good. This pink color seems out of left field too, and not really part of the brand. Let's see. So here you're playing with the green a little more. This one looks good. This ghosted back Texas flag kind of works, I think. You're playing with textures well, and you've got some good elements here. I think maybe just scrutinize your color choices a little bit. This pink and the green maybe could be different. It works as this pale green, works pretty well. A stampede of flavor. Overall, you're in good shape. I think you just need to sort of finesse some things to get it right. Oh, good job. All right. And Dante, I love your logo. I do like your logo as a graphic element, but from a branding standpoint, it should be reversed. It should be Texas Chili, and then Big Reds would be the big dominant thing. All right, that's all we got. So keep working. I can't wait to see your final projects. I hope you've enjoyed the class, and hopefully we'll be on tomorrow with you.